like an email from White Claw's marketing department, like, Basic Bitch is our brand. Please say that we are basic bitches. I was originally going to be the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock Holmes, but then as I was doing bits and bobs around the house, I started talking in this voice to myself. I was like, oh, it's time to do the vacuum. And so I decided that rather than be the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock Holmes, my Sherlock Holmes, it's a family name, but she is a lady, and she is essentially just Janet Snakehole from Parks and Rec. So, Sherlock Holmes is a rich widow with a terrible secret who loves to solve crimes.
And we will find out as the game progresses whether she is actually the character or whether she is the person at a fancy dress party pretending to be the character and has accidentally found herself in this very precarious situation. Sarah, who are you? What are you doing? Who are you playing? And what are you drinking?
So many questions that Sarah has yet to find the answer for. Hi, I'm Sarah. I have gone unusually straight for me in terms of character choice, in that I will be playing the Jeremy Brett version of Sherlock Holmes.
A classic, though.
Classic. Also,
absolute.
Look at the pipe. Look
Stunning.
at the pipe.
Incredible.
That's going to be, most of the acting is going to be done by the pipe tonight. And I am drinking. I'm drinking, totally in character, a pink Moscato, which I'm already a good third of the way through. So yeah, let's see how that all turns out.
So you're not just drinking a lot of cocaine, because that.
No, I do
That's kind
have.
Of Jeremy, or was he? No, he was heroin, wasn't he?
He was heroin. I've already injected before the stream starts.
So you're good to go, right? Yeah. Wonderful. I am Han. Was he cocaine, Osmo? I thought the Jeremy Brett one was lots of heroin.
He was lots of everything. He was an opium as well.
Yeah. Yes.
Classic.
Very much so. As Jacklitz has already guessed, yes, I am Basil, the Great Mouse Detective. Very much the most true to the books Holmes there is. And I everyone else has these wonderful backgrounds. I can either have ears or a background, but I can't have both. Because apparently Skype does not respect ears as part of my body, which is deeply disappointing. So chat, you can vote whether I have a background in line with everyone else or I have ears.
That's weird. Yeah, not cool Skype. Or yeah.
I know. Deeply disappointing.
Skype has been rude to us literally all day.
I think Ears is coming out as the
decision. I think Ears is also coming out. Gosh, some of the noises that are coming from outside my window are very confusing. I think I did just hear a vuvuzela. I'm very sure that we were so done with those about 8 years ago. But I think someone has bought one to this party, which is going to be very exciting. I always really enjoyed vuvuzelas because I play a brass instrument. So I could actually play a vuvuzela like it's supposed to be played, which is you can get notes out of it and play it like a proper brass instrument. So I greatly enjoyed when they were knocking about because I got to show off, because just taking a trombone around places and whipping it out at parties doesn't really go down very well because it's quite large.
I've been told that at many parties.
Yeah.
I've heard that beforehand.
Yeah, keep your bone away and everyone will be happy. Right. So I am going to, no, because all of the parties I went to in high school were orchestra parties. because I'm a big nerd. So I went to all of the right parties, but interestingly, not many of them involved me getting my trombone out. Right, now we all have introduced our characters. We now move on to the second part of the title of this RPG, which is And a Vampire. We are all going to roll a d6, and we will be rolling on a suspicious quirks table, which include everything from being allergic to the vitamin D or being a bat enthusiast. If you roll a 6, you are a vampire, and you pick 2 of the suspicious quirks. We do not inform each other as to what we roll, because part of this is for each other to work out which one of us is a vampire. So everyone roll your d6 now. Make a note of your suspicious quirk. God, this is a... Okay. Okay. Right. This is a fun one for me. For sure. Holmes. Right. Now everyone has done that, we will begin to set the scene. We will go in a clockwise order. Ed 825, it does leave the chance of no vampire. There are ways that you could do it to make sure that everyone is a vampire. We could probably get you guys to help us. But I think it's more fun if we all try and work it out, regardless of whether or not we're a vampire. We will now be setting the scene. I'm going to roll a d20, and that's going to give us a choice of scene details. So, 4. So, Andrea, does the scene we are about to hop into have a great deal of clown memorabilia or a trampoline floor?
Definitely clown memorabilia. That's like a hands down answer for sure.
Excellent. Right, roll us a d20.
Okay. Okay. Emily, are we seeing here a casino, or are we in a casino or a Catholic church?
Oh, easily a Catholic church.
Excellent.
Naturally. Truly.
So we are in a Catholic church full of clown memorabilia. Sarah, what crime are we seeing here?
So, I believe that what we see before us is a murder. The grisliest, most murderiest kind of murder. There is a body, headless at this point in time, sadly eviscerated of its internal organs, which are laid out next to it in perfect biological formation.
Interesting.
Fascinating.
So in a sort of perfect replica of the inside of the body, outside of the body.
Yeah, well, from first appearances, that's exactly what it looks like.
Excellent. And I'm going to roll to see who's going to pop into this scene first. I will go clockwise again. 1, 2, Andrea. 3, Emily. 4, Sarah. And after the first person has popped in and had a poke around, everyone else just go into the scene whenever you feel like it. So first off is Emily, which is possibly the most traumatized person into the scene. So Emily, you're Yes, you. There is a quiet, a strange quiet hangs over this seemingly empty Catholic church, where there is, a great deal of clown memorabilia and this dead body, and then there is a sort of a fizz, an electric hum in the air, and then a pop, and do we see?
Oh, ring-a-ding-ding, what's up with this body? I've never seen a murder quite this disgusting before. Everything's insane, I tell you, insane! And she kind of just, like, throws her parasol, but it doesn't go very far because she's got weak little bird arms. And then kind of, like, taking a moment and, like, adjusting her veil and her little pillbox hat, Sherlock Holmes is going to be like, well, if someone's going to solve this murder in a Catholic church full of clowns, it's going to be me, Sherlock Holmes. And she is going to look for her first clue. So I'm rolling a D100 to do that, yes?
D100, yes.
Okay. An iron, still warm. Can I decide what kind of an iron it is?
Yes.
So, there's a curling iron on the altar, and it's still hot. Who would be curling their hair at a time like this in a Catholic church in front of a murder victim with all its organs anatomically placed next to it? And the whole time she's just kind of like ranting and raving at the ether. At one point, she just sort of presses one of the organ keys for dramatic effect as she's speaking. Just like, this is a murder, most grisly.
There's another electric hum in the air, and then there was a pop, and standing on the altar is a very small mouse. Oh, dear Lord. What on earth has happened here?
Oh, it seems there's been a murder.
Sorry. My dear, I did not see you there.
Oh. People say that to me all the time.
Are you involved in this?
Oh, I'm Sherlock Holmes. I'm here to figure out who's responsible for this dastardly deed.
You can't be Sherlock Holmes because my name's not Sherlock Holmes, but I'm very explicitly based on someone who could be called Sherlock. Are you perhaps the woman that I'm based on?
It could be. It's a family name. There are plenty of Sherlock Holmeses all throughout history. We're very famous mystery solvers.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we are somewhat of a different species. So perhaps that is not you. I must say, you're taking a talking mouse very well.
Oh, that's because I'm a little high. That's all.
Well, I won't shame you for your proclivities. Have you done much? This is I am a mouse, so I don't know much about human anatomy, but this it feels like this man's organ should be inside his body, not adjacent to it. Have you managed to find anything that could tell us any more about what happened here?
Well, apart from the fact that they're anatomically correctly laid out next to him, the only other thing I've found so far, as I've only recently arrived in this room, is this hot curling iron on the altar.
That is peculiar, because as we can see, this man is completely bald. So clearly it wasn't used in the ritual that seems to have occurred here. Did you how did you get here? Did you walk in the front? I was having dinner, if I'm being honest, and now just suddenly I'm here.
I'm going to be honest. What happened to me was I thought I was walking into my drawing room to have a good lie down on my chaise lounge, but when I opened the door, the next thing I knew, suddenly, I was in this Catholic church with all of its clown memorabilia and the dead body. Also, I do feel the need to clarify.
Yes.
Curling one's hair is not a Catholic sacrament, is that correct?
Well, I am, as all mice are, I am pagan, so I wouldn't know much about the Catholic Church, but I would guess that, no, I don't think so. Whoever it was, it's not plugged in, not that I quite understand how that works, but clearly someone was here very recently and has only just left. Let me have a little look, poke around the body. And he goes and has a snuffle underneath the body, and that was the wrong set of dice, and finds. Well, look here. Isn't this fascinating? A perfectly ripe banana. Just tucked into the back pocket of this here corpse. It's I've never seen a banana. I mean, he's dragging it by, because obviously he's a mouse. He's dragging it by the top of it. I've never seen a banana quite this ripe. Have you?
No, it's absolutely perfect for banana bread. Honestly, I'm surprised that it's not squishing all over the place under the circumstances.
I know, which is really quite peculiar. And the air fizzles and crackles again, and in pops
So there's a sort of there is a massive sort of pop of smoke as the doors at the far end of the chapel are thrown open. A tall, gaunt man, very pale, walks in determinedly, holding a cane, wearing a deerstalker hat. He's not wearing a deerstalker hat. That's a lie. Wearing a sort of hat. The names of hats have gone. This is not good. And proceeds to sort of skid to a halt halfway up the pews. And he looks around and he says, "My name is Sherlock Holmes. It is my business to know what other people don't. Who are you?"
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. My name is Basil, but you can also imagine me to be a sort of Sherlock Holmes, so to speak.
And as a matter of fact, my name is also Sherlock Holmes. It's a family name. I don't know any other women named Sherlock, but honestly, I think it gives me some more panache.
And what have we discovered so far about the crime scene? Because there is nothing like first-hand evidence.
Again, may I commend you on taking the sight of a talking mouse very well. We have found a hair-curling iron, which is still warm, implying that whoever used it and was last at the crime scene was not far away. And this perfectly ripe banana, which part of me feels is somewhat more important than the curling iron. As Basil looks up at you, big tall Sherlock, he goes, "Oh, you have a very splendid neck, sir. Has anyone ever told you that before?"
No. Many people have complimented me on many things, but never my neck small.
Yes, well, it is just, it is very elegant and long.
So, do I take it from that, my good friend, that you are interested in necks?
Oh, I wouldn't say interested. I have I suppose a passing curiosity about them and their aesthetic, possibilities. I have been want to admire a few in my time, but that is all. It is merely. As you walked through the door, I just noticed that man has a very charming and striking neck.
It's a family neck, is it not, madam?
Oh, absolutely. I remember,
you
in
two
fact.
are related.
Yes, as I said, it's a family name, Sherlock Holmes. In point of fact, my brother Mycroft was at a party with Rock Hudson, and people were saying just the same thing. And by people, I mean Rock Hudson, incessantly, for hours. Your neck, oh, your neck, Mycroft.
Well, then, clearly, it is not peculiar or out of place that I would appreciate your fantastic neck, sir. I don't know if you can do some more snooping about. From my vantage point, I'm slightly limited, but if anyone would like to put me on the floor, I would be happy to go and have another look around.
My Sherlock looks at you for a second, Han, and is like, no, and just turns away and proceeds to go and examine the body. You can see that he's kind of moving various organs very tentatively using the stick that he's carrying, sort of just giving them a nudge, seeing if there's anything there. Also moving around various items of the clothing and poking around in the pew. And as he does so, 24. A kneeler falls down, and behind the kneeler is a wooden sign that just says, "Live, laugh, love."
Oh, what a charming sentiment.
My Sherlock Holmes scoops up Mouse Sherlock Holmes to bring Mouse Sherlock Holmes closer to the live, laugh, love sign. And she says to Mouse Sherlock Holmes, I don't know why, but this seems even more significant to me than the banana.
Yes, I feel like it tells us a lot about the kind of people who run this church, and I feel like it implies that they are good, kind-hearted, loving people who want to make the most of life, which is obviously quite antithetical to the situation we found ourselves in here.
I mean, there's a lot of significance when you draw parallels between the words live, love, laugh and the scene of total carnage before us.
Yes. Not a lot of living, laughing, or loving being done here.
No.
There is another fizz in the air, and one final pop.
Literally, you see this like thing of smoke, and suddenly you see a very confused, very kind of like rugged and unruly hair, and his, he hasn't shaved his beard in a few days, and you could just see that he's kind of like just like not tripping, but like he's just kind of like, whoa, and then he just does a little like spin to both sides, and then he like looks forward and he kind of walks towards the body. He's like, oh, poor bloke. Oh, man. This looks exactly like the work of Lord Blackwood. And then he looks around. He's like, who are you, though? You... is that a mouse? And then he just points at the mouse.
Yes, my good sir. I am indeed a mouse. My name is Basil, but I'm in the good company of some, you can imagine me as a sort of Sherlock Holmes, if you would like. I hazard a guess at what your name is, but I'm sure you will tell us very soon.
Well, now I know I'm definitely like seeing things. I'm Sherlock Holmes, so you must be some kind of imaginative thing that I'm thinking about right now. Maybe I didn't have so much to drink this time around. I should really talk to Dr. Watson. I wonder where he went. Watson! Oh, God.
My Sherlock Holmes
Yeah.
sets Basil on the floor, and she removes one of her gloves and uses it to slap Robert Downey Jr., Sherlock Holmes, across the face and be like, "Get yourself together, man! We have a mystery to solve!"
Is this another one of your family line? Are you also related to this man?
I sure hope I'm not related to her. How you do, ma'am? My name is Sherlock Holmes, and he goes and like tries to give her a kiss in the hand.
On the mouth.
That would have been also in character. Immediately goes in. He's trying to be suave.
Absolutely straight on the mouth.
She slaps him again with the glove, like this time, like in the opposite direction. Is like, "How dare you! I'm also Sherlock Holmes. It's a family name. In point of fact, the man with the very attractive neck is one of my relatives and is also Sherlock Holmes. Do tell him, Sherlock."
I believe we may be related in some way, shape, or form.
He just stares at him for a second. He's like, "He does have a really good neck, doesn't he?" Huh? And that's all he got from that.
Well, now that we're all together, perhaps 4 Sherlock Holmes brains is better than none on solving this very peculiar clown-based Catholic Church body horror crime.
Surely, I'm sure.
Why don't you go and have a little poke about? I'm going to call you rough, Sherlock, because it looks like you haven't showered in quite a few days.
That's not wrong. I shall do what you asked for, little mouse. And he kind of...
Basil, but little mouse will do, I suppose.
He definitely did not pay attention to that, and he's just, like, turning around and looking. And then he kind of sees something, like, behind the bench. So he just, like, squirms over there. And then he's just like, "Okay, let me see what I actually found, though." Where'd she go? There she... So he goes over to the bench, and he like goes behind the bench, and you just see his head go down, and then he pops back up. And as he comes up, he's like slowly pulling something out, and he pulls it all the way out, and it's a Confederate flag. And he's like, "Oh God, is this the Americans?" And that's literally all he has. He just brings it over to everyone else to kind of show what's happening.
How peculiar.
You see, but you... You go first, my good friend.
Oh, no, I just was going to say that this, knowing little of human custom and not remembering what time period I'm from, although not the 1700s, clearly, this piece of cloth means nothing to me, as I am, as I mentioned, a mouse. Does this mean anything to any of you?
I heard my understanding from what I heard from, other people when I go around places is that apparently some of the Americans aren't very happy, and this might be related to that flag. I think it's very similar to what I remember seeing, so it might be the Americans.
It does look shockingly similar to a very niche flag from the Confederate Army. I'm from the 1940s, and so honestly I can only suspect that maybe one day it might be adopted in, say, somewhere around the 1960s as some sort of racist symbol. I don't mean to prognosticate. Once again, I'm a little high.
I mean, you all see, but you do not observe. The distinction is clear. This is not a traditional American flag, but a flag of some ominous precursor. The wickedness of man.
Well, we've got the wickedness of man on full show here tonight. I can't imagine why this would find its way into a church, a holy place. I wouldn't have thought there would have been allowed to have that kind of overlap of church and state, but perhaps in whatever time we are in, that has indeed happened. It is a bit... Does anyone find it a bit dark in here? I feel like we should open up some windows, get some proper daylight in.
Oh, if you're going to do that, hold on one moment. And my Sherlock Holmes puts her glove back on so that both of her hands have gloves, and she fetches her parasol from where she had tossed it and opens it up. And she says, I think you'll find I'm frightfully allergic to the sun. Personally, I don't mind. I think the pale look suits me. That's what my ex-husband used to say. Well, my former husband. I'm a very rich widow, you see. I've traveled the world. And that's why this is my trusty parasol.
Yes, I suppose that makes sense. Well, you could avoid the sun rays, and you hopefully won't get too burned. Now I have suggested opening the curtains, but I am frightfully small, so if anybody could shed a little bit more literal light on the situation, I think that would be very helpful.
I shall not open the curtains because I share the same allergy as my relative here.
Oh, that is terrible. Well, clearly it is some kind of genetic disease.
Well, I would assume so if... alas, if only there was the technology to identify such a disease in one's very DNA and understand how that would affect an entire line of people.
I've just interpreted it as we're special, darling. We have the same sort of afflictions as the Austro-Habsburgs, you know?
Oh, like incest. I do think that we're predisposed to that.
Incest? How dare you?
No? Oh, okay. Never mind.
This man
Sherlock,
is so
please,
impertinent.
would you mind opening the curtains?
Oh, yeah, sure thing, buddy. He just goes over
Oh,
and he's like,
we have a raid. Thank you, questing time. Cheers.
Let's go.
Lasagna.
Yay!
welcome.
We are solving a clown-based murder in a Catholic church. Currently, the clowns have not actually come into it. They have merely been set decoration.
It's also entirely possible that the clowns are racist. We haven't really gotten there yet, but it's possible.
The clowns might be racist. We haven't decided.
There's a flag. The flag is a pretty big sign.
I mean, clowns are all white. I'm just saying, clowns are definitely racist.
It's true. Shout out to any clowns in the audience. I hope we are not alienating you.
Let us know.
Basil has a look around.
Oh, cheers!
And,
DC Trekkie.
And, hey.
Cheers.
Muchas gracias.
Heart.
And with the newly illuminating daylight, he spots something underneath the pew right at the very front by the altar, and says, "Oh, just put me down there, darling. I think I can see something."
So I will grab the mouse Sherlock Holmes and place him there as he requested, and I whisper just like, "You and me, we're friends. You're my best friend out of all the Sherlock Holmeses."
Well, I can't say I've had a best friend before. I've had companions, and Dawson is obviously a very close friend of mine, but to have a best friend, I think that would be quite charming. Now please help me pull this very strange object out from under the pews. he goes scurrying under, and you can hear a fair bit of effort as he pushes out, or rather rolls out, a small glowing orb. I saw this glowing, and the daylight glinted off it, and I can't lie. I'm not quite sure what it is. Is this? I suspect that I am from a slightly earlier time than you are. Do you recognize what this could be?
This glowing orb? Oh,
Yes.
I don't know. Sherlock's, gather round! So we can all take a look at it. And, like, part of me wants to check the list to see what the glowing orb situation is, but I'm like, no, let's just find out together.
I can tell you on the list, it is just a small glowing orb.
Oh my, okay. That works.
Do you think this could be some... I have never entertained the idea of magic, but I have heard tales.
So have I. Did you
Could
know...
this possibly be part of some kind of magic ritual?
I was thinking precisely the same thing. Did you know how into the occult Hitler and the Nazis were? We've already established there's a possibility that they're racist. It could be that they're in cahoots with the Nazis, trying to do evil magic experiments on this poor person who likes bananas.
Oh, this is very true. Rough Sherlock? Next Sherlock, do you have any, Yes, it's Rough Sherlock, next Sherlock, and Sherlock Holmes, my very best friend.
So
do you recognize this very peculiar object?
Next, Sherlock reaches down. Are you currently holding the small glowing orb?
No, I've rolled it out. It is like a mouse and a half high. So it's like a big thing. It's like this big.
Okay.
The big.
So, Neck Sherlock, as he's now known, he's going to bend down. He's going to scoop it up, and he's going to hold it up to his eye and examine it thoughtfully, sort of catching the light. There's sort of streams of red and amber and green coming through the stained glass windows as the sun begins to set, and it catches the glowing orb in his hand, and he looks at it and he says, I have seen this kind of thing before in my travels. I do believe they are commonly used in fairs and modern entertainments as a way of foretelling the future, if such a thing existed.
Well, that is quite remarkable.
Indeed.
It's a shame this poor chap could foretell his future.
Here, catch. And next Sherlock throws it to...
Mouse Sherlock is dead. Thoroughly squished.
Squished.
Rough Sherlock. Do you have any idea? Is there anything here connected that could imply?
So, Rough Sherlock just takes the orb. He kind of just stares at it. And he's like, I do believe I've seen one of those things before. I think it was at a circus or something like that. I do remember, though, there are usually some other cool cards and such that the lady that uses this orb usually has as well. So he's like obviously talking about cards, and then he's like, somehow his brain does like a weird tangent thing. So he runs to another end of the church, and he bends down to pick up something, and the thing that he picks up is in a second, once this rolls properly. He bends down and he just finds a single knife. And the knife, apparently, like, it's just the knife. There's no blood on it. But he just brings it over. He's like, I know there's no blood on this, but still quite suspicious. I think this is the most important clue we've found so far. And he just like gives it to little Basil to hold. He's like, here you go, buddy.
He drops it on the ground. Interesting. Well, someone who is not used to weapons of this size, but has examined the wounds in the body up there, I think I can make a fairly good assumption that this is the weapon that was used to cut open that poor man. And you talked about this strange orb being used by tellers of the future, and that they are often found in circuses. Well, this place is absolutely chock-a-block with more clown memorabilia than I think I have ever seen in any place ever. Yeah. So perhaps this was either done by or in ritualistic sacrifice to a circus.
Yes, that is quite possible, actually.
I mean, I have seen such places on my travels around Europe. I mean, for example, on passing through Transylvania, which any Transylvanian citizen would know. Are any of you Transylvanian?
Oh, yeah. How'd you like it? I haven't been home in years. Is it still like really, really like sad there?
I mean, it wasn't. It was a pastoral place with many delightful waterfalls and crowded peaks, and of course the notorious home of Dracula, or Vlad the Impaler, as we'd otherwise known him.
Yeah, it's a great attraction. We get like 95% of our tourism from that.
But you would recognize a traveling circus if you saw one, I assume, my friend.
Oh, definitely. I most surely could.
My Sherlock Holmes sort of just takes a wide circle of the group as this Transylvania interrogation is going on, and ends up near the body, where she is going to find a pair of Adidas gazelles.
We're all confused.
I mean,
are those shoes? What are those?
I won't lie, guys. Little momentary timeout. 21st century Sarah is confused by the word Adidas gazelles. So, a good job she's playing a character from the 19th century.
They are.
I'm googling it.
They are a pair of shoes, because I wrote this D100 table, and they are the pair of shoes I wear almost every single day.
I see. I can I can pop it up on the stream for a second here if
someone's got to know what a fucking pair of gazelles look like.
I just mean, like, you know, I
once you see it, you recognize it.
Yes,
you know? I think you have to see it.
I mean, I'm sure Sarah / Sherlock Neck Holmes would recognize them once they saw them, but out of context.
His name is Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes.
So I am going to
Janika.
Isolate an image of them. I think these seem to be pretty cute. I'm gonna put it in the middle of all of us here in just a moment,
and leave it there for the whole show.
Inexplicably,
it's the most important clue so far.
Oh no! Okay, we're back.
Wow.
Oh my God!
Reception for a second there.
The fourth wall is completely disintegrating.
Yes, so a pair of these shoes are found. Interesting. There's a quite sporty yet stylish
I mean, my observations of these shoes would leave me to believe that anyone who wore them would wish to convey that they were sporty without necessarily themselves being sporty.
I think that would be a good assumption. Someone who wants to appear light on their feet.
Yes.
There are a few members of the circus who might. I can see splattered on the toe there some a bit of blood, and there are a few members of the circus that you might want to have light on their feet. Acrobats, for example. Or lion tamers.
May I examine the shoe, my good friend? And next Sherlock holds out the hand for the shawl. I mean, as I smell the shoe, I get a distinct smell of brasso or some sort of cleaning liquid that might be used on a brass instrument, say someone who played the trombone.
Interesting.
We
don't traditionally tend to polish them that much. And by I say we, I mean those who find themselves in the brass instrument profession. I have some friends who are in the orchestra. But that is very curious. So perhaps, well, I have never personally been to the circus. Do circus have orchestras?
Oh, sure. I mean, they could have whatever you want. Usually, it depends on the group. It's a real democracy if you think about it. How they make decisions there. We have a lot to learn from circuses.
I mean, many of the Transylvanian traveling families play substantial number of instruments, including the brass kind, I believe, as well as the violin. So I would suggest that it is not unlikely that people traveling around in a circus may indeed be possessed of extreme musical ability.
Interesting. That still doesn't explain why the crime was done. Is anyone able to look into the future? Perhaps a glimpse into the ball using whatever psychic abilities we may possess might give us some idea of where this might have come from. Perhaps have a look and see if you can get a vision of a clue.
I would suggest to my tiny friend I have a substantial amount of opium on my person. I could light this pipe and infuse the air with opium, and we could stare into the crystal ball together and see what it is that we could see.
Oh, it sounds just like Christmas.
That's a lovely idea.
A deeply powerful and unifying experience.
Exactly.
Based on the fact that I am a mouse. It might kill me, but...
in that case, Sherlock, with the neck, you might want to use the opium that your father used to use for children at the Christmas parties.
It's fine. What we'll do is we will just put the opium into the thing that the Catholics used to disperse the incense that I can't remember the name of because I'm still traumatized from traveling through time and space.
Fair.
And I will just distribute it as one would an incense at Eucharist.
If you do it at sort of human head height, I'm quite far down on the ground, so I will only get small wisps of it. A Jesus vape. That is indeed what it's called. The most holy of vapes.
As it says in the Bible, Jesus vaped.
He vaped.
My friend, Untidy Sherlock, why don't you start and tell us what you can see?
So he's really living this up. He's just really trying to feel that incense hit him.
Hydrate.
And he's like,
Hydrate.
Hydrate. Oh no. Okay.
wrong one.
Why do I always forget
Ayo.
water? So I'm just gonna drink my mixer here, once I open the new one up. Oh my god. You
We
know,
are indeed hotboxing a Catholic church
100% with opium.
with opium.
we also have an oversharing from Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes.
So I suppose that means all of us.
It does seem that way.
Yeah, this smoke settles over the party, and everyone gets. I don't even what does opium even fucking do to you? Is that a fast one or a slow one?
Opium is one that outwardly makes you seem very slow. That's why a lot of people often seem asleep, but it gives you really lucid dreams.
Amazing. So as they sink into a gentle stupor, we see these 4 Sherlock Holmeses staring into this crystal ball, seeing perhaps visions of the past, to give some indication of exactly what happened here.
Sorry, I'm trying to think. So would this be a time to use the clues for that? I guess.
I think we each roll 1 and they all appear at exactly the same time.
Right, I'll do it.
Okay. Okay. So my Sherlock Holmes says, for some reason, when I look into this glass, all I can see is that curling iron again. It's burning and staring at me. Perhaps we've missed its significance somehow. It is also possible that I'm just thinking about it because it brings up memories of childhood where my mother used to curl my hair constantly with a hot iron, occasionally burning me and saying pretty girls have curly hair. Well, who's laughing now, mother? I'm a rich widow and you're dead.
I think there is a lot to unpack here, but perhaps that is not entirely the reason why you see it. Next to it, I can see a chess set. It's mid-game. It reminds me of a time that I let one human with a particularly beautiful neck use me as one of their chess pieces for 3.5 weeks. I didn't eat much, but I did get to stare at their neck from across the board all night long. It was a wild summer, but I can't say that I regret it. But perhaps this chess game has something to do with the crime, or perhaps it is merely a revelation of my own past.
My mind rebels against stagnation. Give me a problem, give me work, give me the most abstruse cryptogram or the most intricate analysis, and I am my own proper atmosphere. I can dispense with artificial stimulants, but I abhor the dull routine of existence, and that is why I am saddened by the presence of a small can of fish food in my current reverie. Fish food, that time that Mycroft pushed me into the pond and left me for dead.
Oh, good Lord. That's tragic, man.
That's my brother.
Your poor brother. So, I'm really not saying anything, but you could kind of see me like doing that thing where you're like going back and forth a little bit. And he has his hands up. And he's like, oh, I see a rectangle. It looks so familiar. It's so small. No, you can hold some coins in there. I think that's perfectly fine for that. It's not too small. It's convenient. And as he does that, he like stops, opens his eye. He's like, it's a small handbag, just like the one my mom used to beat me with. The resemblance is truly remarkable. Is this about me? It is always about me, but is it though?
I think perhaps that the combination of the future past gazing and the opium has perhaps done not a great deal for the case, and more has set us on each journey of dealing with some deep-seated trauma that perhaps we all need to go and talk to someone about.
Oh, certainly. Well, I would say that we should talk to a priest, but I don't know where the priest even is. In point of fact, I'm surprised.
Basil is gonna perk up and go, hang on a second, and crowd scamper up and climb up to the body and go, yes, this man, I think this man was the priest. So that can rule out any involvement of the church. I don't believe they would have done this to one of their own, which leaves me to believe that it is indeed the work of one of the circus people. Perhaps the fortune teller, seeking to do some sort of ritual, but for what purpose? What is... I can't see anything here that would give them any gain of any sort. And he's just kind of having a frantic look around.
You may. Oh, you go, Emily.
Oh, okay. So, best friend Sherlock Holmes takes out a snack, which it's like half of a very garlicky panini. And she's just sort of munching on it really intently and talking with her mouth full as she's thinking. And she's like, perhaps it could be. One of the commonalities seems to be that when we were looking into the glass, sorry, I get hungry sometimes when I'm thinking very hard, and I'm thinking quite hard indeed. One of the commonalities seems to be that it had something to do with us. When we gazed in, it was related to all of our traumas. What if all of us being traumatized by our families, all of us being Sherlock Holmes with the tormented pasts, has something to do with the case and why we're all here from different times and dimensions? I don't know. And she just like continues to munch while passing by everyone, just sort of...
That is a fascinating... I mean, you couldn't... I don't mean to be rude, but you are my very best friends, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, ma'am. You couldn't break me off a crumb of that. It smells absolutely delicious.
Oh, of course, you're my best friend. And she breaks off a bit and gives it to the mouse.
It is remarkable how it is still oven fresh, straight from your handbag.
Oh, yes. I had it specially made by Nikola Tesla. He said, do you need a bag to do anything fancy? And I said, as long as it can keep my paninis warm, I'll give you all the money you want. But honestly, he said all he wanted was more sexy pigeons, and I didn't quite know what that meant, but I did my best.
Well, I think it was a worthy investment, because this is absolutely delicious. You boys really should try some.
Oh, I would love some. Thank you very much. He goes up to her.
I'm afraid, my friend, you are ruining the effects of the beautiful opium that I put out, and I will therefore be disinclined to join you.
Oh, I can't see how anybody could turn down a delicious bit of garlic bread. It's always just so Moorish. I sometimes spend an inordinate amount of time outside our local pizzeria, just hoping that someone will throw something in the trash outside.
What is a pizzeria?
It is a place in which pizzas are made and then sold, and garlic bread often accompanies them. And so that is, a firm favorite in our household. But it is, peculiar that I might meet one who does not share the same tastes as me, but is not unfounded. I do think you are right, though, my very best friend, Lady Sherlock Holmes. I do think it could have something to do with us. I hate to assume that this is for us, but perhaps we are intrinsically and unequivocally connected to this crime.
Just to break that, Saint Stella, yes, indeed, Tesla did make the panini press.
He invented it 100%.
100%.
I also
No doubt.
He doesn't get enough credit for his work with the panini press.
He doesn't.
I also
doesn't.
feel the need to add as a side note, the pigeons thing was not me just riffing unfoundedly. He was in love with a pigeon.
Aww.
That was a thing that happened.
I mean,
it happens to the best of us.
Sometimes a pigeon just understands you on a really deep level, and you want it. You're like, hey, do you want to meet my parents?
yeah, we've all been there. To be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Edison stole the idea of the panini press. Bastard.
I mean, actually, Edison made the sandwich toaster. You know, the one with the little pockets.
Yeah.
But that was an evolution of the panini press, and some would say inferior.
Yeah.
Oh.
100%.
Pigeons are the most romantics of the birds.
If anyone in the chat has listened to or watched the Unsleeping City, the Dimension 20 campaign, you know that pigeons can be very romantic partners. And very good dates.
Talking of very good dates, how do we feel, friends, about bats? As we're in a church, I feel like this place must be overrun with bats, and therefore there may be some opportunities for communication or assessment, especially you, my little furry friend, who I believe is directly related to bats.
Yes, I mean, not directly related myself, but I have a lot of friends who are bats, and yes, they can be very good informants, I have found on certain cases. So yes, I think that if we can have a nosy about in the rafters and in the attic rooms, perhaps we will find more information. Is anyone willing to join me?
Oh, well, of course, I'll come along.
I think that's a great idea. Let's
go. I want to be supportive. And incidentally, I have no inherent problem with bats, but they do give me the heebie-jeebies.
Well,
quite indifferent.
Yes, I have. I'm sure I can introduce my very best friend. I'm sure I can introduce you to several bats that would very much change your opinion on the species as a whole. They are gentle, kind, curious beings who should never be underestimated. And they sleep upside down, and it is just adorable.
Well, I'd love to have my mind changed. And who knows, maybe I could watch one adorably munch on a strawberry. I don't know, I'm just spitballing.
Oh, that does sound like it would be terribly cute. Let's go and have a look up in the rafters and see if we can't find something. So everyone treks up to the rafters, and while there are no bats up in the kind of attic choir room above the church, it's not a big church, it's not that many rooms to it, but there is a sort of viewing gallery up where you can imagine a choir might sit. Basil hops down off his very best friend's, he clambers down his very best friend's leg, and goes, "Well, would you look at that?" have found another knife. This one is absolutely covered in blood. I feel like that first knife might have been a decoy, and this one is, in fact, the real knife, given that it is sitting in a pool of blood and covered in a lot of blood. It has an engraving on the handle. I can't quite make it out. Can anyone else see what the engraving says?
Oh, good gracious, knife is bodacious. Let's take a look. And she takes a look. She pulls a magnifying glass from her pocket, takes a peek, and the engraving says A. Doyle.
Fascinating. I don't know a Doyle, but are they perhaps connected to a famous clowning or circus family?
I'm getting images of a father figure. What is that? Is anyone else like getting some weird visions like that? Or is that still the opiate?
It's quite a comforting name, I will agree. Some kind of authority. I think I would trust them, but if this is their knife, I'm not sure if that would be entirely wise.
I mean, there is a very well-known firm of funeral directors in Coventry Garden, I believe, by the name of Doyle, for whom a knife like this would be common parlance amongst their tool set.
Interesting. And I suppose a funeral director who is well used to doing autopsies might be fairly familiar with the internal organ layout of a human body.
Agreed, my small Holmes friend. Also, what is interesting that this particular funeral director's is located very close to the Clown Museum, where every clown must dedicate their face.
Interesting. That is, in fact, about a 10-minute walk from Han's house, and she is so fucking hyped to go there because it is currently closed because pandemic.
Oh.
But the Clown Museum is like really close. It's in Dalston Church, and it's like I want to go so bad. In fact, Tiny Mouse Sherlock Holmes looks around and goes, "Yes. In fact, isn't part of that museum? It's split between multiple locations, I suppose, because it would be. I can't believe this was a blind side of mine. It splits between multiple locations in order to be safe and well looked after. I know that in a particular corner of East London, there is indeed a church in which many of the clowns' eggs, because their faces are all painted on eggs, and much of their trademarkable material is kept. Is it possible that we are in the famous Dalston Clown Church?"
Neck, Sherlock Holmes. Sort of suddenly springs up and runs down the church. Well, not runs. He like walks super fast down the church, and he flings open the doors, and we can see outside the traffic. I think it's on Dalston High Street.
I think it's on Dalston High Street as well.
I think it's on Dalston High Street. So a lot of traffic, a lot of modern day hackney cabs and vehicles.
Oh, good Lord. What terrible, monstrous time have we been flung into? I think it's very possible that, in fact, the clowns have nothing to do with the murder at all. And it just so happens that it took place in this church. This very specific clown church.
Sherlock Holmes covers her mouth briefly and sort of dry heaves for a moment and goes, "Oh, dear Lord. I have never had to leave the city of Westminster until today."
Well, don't worry, darling, because I think you'll be almost quite all right, because when the London boroughs, at least I think in this time, are split up, this borough is actually known as Hackney and the City of London. So you are actually technically still within the bounds of the city, based on modern day boundary limitations. I don't know why Hackney is added, although, come to think of it, we are in Dalston, so perhaps she does a very quick Google. Perhaps Dalston will not be within the bounds of the Hackney. Oh no, it's still in E8, and I am currently in E8 as well. So I would be surprised if they were not also within the confines of Hackney and the City of London. So do not let yourself have a panic attack, darling. I think you'll be fine.
Well, you see, my husband, he was of an aristocratic background, and he was always under the impression that if he had to enter the City of London, not unlike the Queen, he'd have to ask for permission to some vague authority. It just makes me nervous, you see, even though we're no longer married, obviously, because he's died under mysterious circumstances, so I'm sure everything's fine. Anyway, these clowns!
Yes, these peculiar clowns. I won't lie. I have done a bit of reading in my spare time. It takes me a dreadfully long time because books are terribly large. But I have done a bit of reading, and I am wont to read some fantasy and some of the books of the supernatural. And some of you are displaying some interesting characteristics that I would not be unfounded in the vampire. My very best friend. You are my very best friend in the whole universe. I believe that our friendship crosses time and space at this point. You would tell me if you were a vampire, wouldn't you?
Oh, of course I would. And she gives him a little boop on the nose. And is like, I do understand that my sensitivity to sunlight could, in some ways, resemble that of a vampire, but I must tell you, I am certainly a member of the living. You know, I can tolerate garlic, as we've all observed, and quite frankly, while we don't entirely understand how such things happen, we have established that a Holmes family trait is a sensitivity to sunlight, at least in certain lines. My father and his father before him were all incredibly sensitive to the sunlight. It's why we're all very pale, and when we are putting on foundation, have to use baby powder to make it set so that it's the right shade. Anyway, my point is there are people who have other vampiric traits. For example, my good scruffy friend, who I can't stand the sight of and tried to kiss me on the mouth. You are from Transylvania, and as we know, apart from Count Dracula himself, just many a vampire are from Wallachia and the Transylvania area in general.
That just seems to me like a little bit of misguided prejudice. Like, we're known for our vampires, but true Transylvanian folk are just, we're just little farmers. We're just living our life. Don't bring my parents into this. This has nothing to do with that. I think we should be thinking more specifically about the people with the neck fetish. So, I don't know about this, but someone kept talking about this poor man's neck, and I think that should be addressed.
I made one comment on this man's lovely neck. And I feel like so many of us go through our lives not fully appreciating the beauty that is within us, and sometimes without us. And so I just wanted to let this man know that he had a very lovely neck. And I have admired other necks in the past, but I do not think I align with any of the other traits of the vampire. I terribly fond of garlic, and my coat turns a lovely auburn color in the sunlight. So
What about the bats, though? Don't you? I thought you said you kind of like bats. They're pretty.
I
cool.
am a big fan of bats, yes, but that's mainly because some of them are my friends. I have also met bats that I dislike, and I do not rate them any higher than the rats and the pigeons that are often found on the streets of London. So, you know, if you promise me that both of you have a sensitivity to sunlight that is purely genetic and not because of any vampiric tendencies, then I think perhaps we could move on, unless, my lovely neck friend, you are perhaps possessing of of more than just a sensitivity to sunlight.
My friend, you are much more observant than many of my acquaintance, and indeed more observant than our two fully grown friends here. I am indeed, unfortunately, a member of the vampire, as you call them. Having travelled through Transylvania in my time, I was unfortunately set upon by a man at a waterfalls late at night when I was tracking Moriarty. However, this has not impeded my ability to investigate a crime, even if it has created within me unnatural urges. As I'm sure the rest of you have worked out at this point in time, given the presence of a handbag and a crystal ball, we are led to believe that the perpetrator, or at least one of the perpetrators of this crime, is indeed female, or indeed a human who is inclined to carry a handbag and a crystal ball at all times. The curling irons themselves are also a small crew that maybe we are looking at someone who wishes to present in no small respect as female, at least in a very traditional.
Cheers! Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, more. At least she wishes to present in a traditional normative society as a female. I mean, I have once or twice caught Watson at play with the curling irons and a wig he has borrowed from no uncommon whore, but I suspect in this day and age, people are quite rightly much more accepting of this kind of thing. But you, my friend, it was just when you found the handbag that really revealed, I think, the truth of this particular case. Would you care to pick up my messy Shakespeare friend, Sherlock Holmes friend?
Indeed, yes. I completely see where you're coming from. In fact, you're right. The handbag was truly a pivotal clue, if I would say so myself. It seems that whoever this person is, however they like to identify, they do have things that they must carry with them at all times. And if you count the amount of items inside that handbag, it's exactly the same as the number of bananas that he had in his pocket. Exactly one item is what she had, or he had, in her purse. And I think that this is probably the most pivotal clue we found. And I think from now on you can take it, sweet lady who I tried to kiss.
Oh, of course. Thank you very much. So, we've established that it's a woman. And between the Live, Laugh, Love sign and the Confederate flag, I think it's safe to say that she's a suburban housewife from the American South with some proclivities toward white supremacy. And honestly, that fits in as well with regard to the desire to see the future and everything else. As we've all established, the Nazis were quite interested in matters of the occult. And honestly, you know, let's be honest though, who among us hasn't dabbled? I know Father used to hold seances every other Thursday. But nonetheless, we've established that much from those clues. We've seen all of the knives and everything else, and we know that there's a particular interest in us. So my thought is perhaps this crime was committed by a woman who was attempting to summon each and every one of us, trying to summon some Sherlock Holmes figure. But to what end? Why would a racist woman from the American South want to summon each of us? Best friend, do you have any ideas?
Well, you mentioned the handbag, and that there was one item in there equal to the number of bananas that this poor priest had in his pocket. You did not mention what that item was.
Oh, indeed.
He snuffles into the handbag and pulls out what's this ever yes. He pulls out a book. It looks like a very thick comic book, or perhaps one might call it a graphic novel. Look at this. It is a copy of a story. I think you might recognize the character on the front cover. That is one Sherlock Holmes. It doesn't look like any of us, but as we've established, there are many of us. This one is tall. He's wearing a sort of dark blue-black suit with a white shirt with a button that's just slightly too low. He's got dark black curly hair and a very strange face that I suppose some might call attractive. What a peculiar-looking man. Perhaps he is also one of the Sherlock Holmeses. And look who the original story is by. Arthur Doyle. Perhaps that is the A. Doyle on the dagger. And look, opening the front cover, we can see an inscription. Well, these look not so much like an inscription, but more like ruins, strange letters and symbols, not dissimilar that one might use in some kind of summoning ritual. And all over these pages, everywhere that this Sherlock Holmes is featured, hearts and big, crude drawings of genitalia and what look like parts of love notes. I think this woman might have been obsessed with this version of Sherlock Holmes, and in some kind of horrific supernatural ritual tried to summon him. So perhaps we are not here to investigate the crime, but we are here to attempt to satisfy this mad woman's